favorite people, we just finished up reacting to the 101 Facts video, and he ended the video with talking about how for 300 years, actually in the UK, y'all spoke French. And I was like, what the heck? We checked out languages a lot on this channel and my other channel, and it turns out that the English language was invented actually by the Germans, and then it went through so many different changes until it became what it is today, which is still very different in the way we speak, Americans, compared to y'all. In our slang and just the way we form words, all that kind of stuff, where we enunciate. And so I was requested to react to a video called Languages of the British Isles. Now, I don't think it's specifically going to focus on English, because again, the British Isles are so many different cultures, so much different history, influences. I assume we're gonna hear about Gaelic, the Welsh language. I don't know the specific name for it, but it sounds very different. We got Gaelic, whatever they speak in Scotland, Scottish. Let's just get into the video, because I don't even know. Like the video, subscribe if you're new here, check out my other content on this channel and my music channel, check out my vlog channel where I do travel vlogging, DM me video requests over on Instagram, and here we go. Into the languages of the British Isles. Let's do it. Y'all's history
English is the third
beautiful.
most widespread language in the world, behind Spanish and Standard Chinese. It's spoken from England to Canada to South Africa to New Zealand to Australia. You know, thanks to the old empire.
Empire and conquering people, enslaving them.
Wait, that's not what I'm meant to be talking about in this video.
Yeah.
What was it? History with Hilbert, history, Dutch, Frisians, languages. That's the one. Huh. In this video, I'm going to be having a look at which other languages are spoken in the British Isles.
Yes.
Because while English is its most famous export, it's by no means the only one.
Amen.
So let's have a look. Now in this video, I'm going to be looking at country by country which languages there are.
Okay, so we got Scotland, we got England, we got Ireland, the northern part of Ireland, because the Republic is not a part of the UK. We've got, I'm assuming this is Isle of Man, and you got the dragons, the Welsh people. I love your freaking flag over in Wales.
Are in the British Isles, and in this video I've decided to put Ireland and Northern Ireland together simply for geographic reasons.
Though we understand they are not the same thing. There's a distinction, a major distinction that goes back into like deaths and wars and the potato famine and the Troubles, and it's a deep history. So we respect the Northern Ireland and we respect the Republic of Ireland for sure. Also, I was watching Olympic videos because I was like, wait, weren't we supposed to have the Olympics a year ago? And I saw that it's actually Great Britain and Northern Ireland in the official name for the UK people. So I just thought that was interesting.
So please, nobody start a war in the comments.
Yes.
The first
No
country
wars.
I'm going to is Scotland.
And the bagpipes. If I ever make it back to the UK, or I should say England/London, I definitely want to venture up and travel through the Highlands, or just see it. You know, because it's always referenced in literature, it's always referenced in TV shows. Whenever you watch shows about the Vikings or just like old history about the UK, the Highlands is always mentioned. So I want to see what the hype is about. Like, are there goats over there? What's going on? It must be beautiful. Do people live in the Highlands? So first misconception I had, Gaelic is, yeah, it's Scottish, but it's also Irish. So we'll see the different distinctions. There's a Scottish Gaelic and an Irish Gaelic, and it's also pronounced Gaelic.
Famous and romantic language to come from Scotland has got to be Scottish Gaelic. Some basic phrases include
Gaelic.
Slán Java, a toast, Kimera Hashif, how are you? La Nuv Andre Madui, Happy St. Andrew's Day, Alba Gabra, Scotland forever.
Okay, I just noticed they don't pronounce the TH like it's ah. He said Slán Glova.
Happy St. Andrew's Day, Alba Gabra.
Alba Gubra.
Scotland forever. Claymore, meaning big sword.
Claymore.
Sassenach.
Sassenach! That's what Jamie calls Claire in Outlander. If you've seen this, I advise everyone watch that show. I always reference it. It's one of my favorite shows. Sassenach. It's like pretty lady. Like young, beautiful lady.
Englishman or foreigner, literally meaning Saxon, which dates back to the Dark Ages. And Guma Fada Beo Stuart, long live the Stuart. I mean, come on, this is History with Hilbert. I'm gonna put some history in there. Where in Scotland do they speak Gaelic? Mostly in the Western Highlands and Islands. Islands such as Lewis, Harris, Darren, Bob, Mark, and Thomas.
So are those like the older territories, like where the place has been settled the longest in the Highlands? And like the closer you go to the city, it becomes more like modernized, I guess.
Oh wait, no, those aren't the names. Hold on. Islands like Lewis, Harris, Eust, Skye, Tiree, and Islay. These are the places where Gaelic has remained the strongest, even though many areas of Scotland, which used to be Gaelic speaking, have now either become English speaking or both English and Scots speaking. But I'll get on to that in a minute. Now, Gaelic is a Celtic language, and it originally came from Ireland. Now, why did the Scottish Gaelic come from Ireland? Well, I'll explain that. Once upon a time, there was a powerful family living in the north of Ireland called the O'Neill. Now, if you think this name looks familiar, well, that's because this is the Old Irish version of the modern name O'Neill, still an important and large family. Now, the O'Neill...
Ooh, I actually know someone with the last name O''Neil. So does that mean she probably has, like, Irish history? Interesting. That's cool. I'm not going to tell her because I don't talk to her anymore, but that's just a fun fact.
Expanded their kingdom and founded a kingdom called Dal Riada. And Dal Riada was a kingdom that originally was both across the north of Ireland and the southwest of Scotland. And this is how Gaelic from Ireland came into Scotland. Now, Gaelic is actually not an official language of the United Kingdom, but there is a BBC radio and TV channel.
So what is, I guess, the only official language of the United Kingdom then is just English? Because it should be Gaelic, so many people speak it, and it's a prominent language from the history of those countries. What was life like before the United Kingdom became the United Kingdom, like when Scotland was just its own thing?
Which is entirely in Scottish Gaelic called BBC Alba. And Alba, as you can remember from Alba Cabra, which means Scotland forever, is the Gaelic word for Scotland. I'm now going to play for you a native speaker speaking some Scottish Gaelic.
Smisha Rosemary, I'm a hookal on Leis de Jace on the Balabik Ida Vilkiarnamonig. Va Gaelic ek mahad, a Charo Gaelic ek mabahad, I was listen, I'm a hookal on the Dachi, for a Russian Krek Beerle Fat Nachiche. A Chiganian, I'm either Trunskull, I was young sich Gaelic go art either. Communication Shechet, Immetuch Bleana, Chickas Trevian Gaelic, I was a notion, Elisachan Gaelic, I was Elisachan Inatan Gaelic.
Okay. So, to me, it sounds like a mix of Hebrew, English, and Sims talk. Like, the way it sounds like they kind of speak in English, but then you get the and that's like the Hebrew influence, but then it's, I don't know, it's a nice language.
Scots way will walls the land, Scots wonders as of the land.
Okay, so I think Scots is the more sounding one that kind of comes to memory, because even on Outlander it did sound like they were speaking more like that, especially when they were singing or just talking. It wasn't fast and like slurred together, you know. So there's 2 languages in Scotland. 3. You got English, you got Scots, which is its own language, Scottish, and you got Gaelic. I just thought Scottish was like when people say what race are you, I say I'm black. What race are you? You're Scottish, you know. But no, Scots is the language, it's the country name, it's everything.
Now, there is some debate as to whether Scots should be considered a language or just a dialect of English.
No, not a dialect of English, it's its own thing. Saying it's just English, but a dialect of English would be, I think, diminishing its respect and importance. It's its own language. 3 languages in Scotland.
I'm going to make a video about this in future, but for this one, I'm just going to treat it as a language. Now, we in Scots means small. It doesn't have the same meaning as in English.
Wee lassie. Wee lassie.
Lads and lasses are boys and girls. Auld Lang Syne is a song which is often sung at New Year, and it essentially means a long time ago. Am fi Glasgow means I'm from Glasgow. A wee drink o' iron brew means a drink of bleach.
Oh my god. So I didn't have much trouble when I was in London, like understanding people. Like it was pretty easy to just like focus in and just dissect the accent. But I do fear if I get to Scotland, it's gonna be hard. Excuse me, can you direct me to Glasgow? Yeah, take the battery up with it. Like, ooh, it's gonna be hard.
Why wouldn't I fight for Charlie is why wouldn't I fight for Charlie? Again, the Jacobite references, and if you're Dutch,
The
a
Jacobites.
lot of words in Scots are a lot more like Dutch words.
They also talked about the Jacobites and Prince Charles and all them fighting the Redcoats. And the history, I don't know if it's accurate, but the Jacobites were like slaughtered at Craignadoon, I believe.
Yep.
If you want us to check out Scottish history, let me know, because I'd be down to do it. This is like making me hype.
Why is that? Well, you'll just have to wait until the history of Scots for that one.
Should we check it out?
Their sewer slays in Athol Braes and the deals at Killiecrankie. This is from a very famous song, which I very much enjoy. Link will be in the description. So where do they actually speak Scots? Well, they speak it on Orkney, not Orkney, Aberdeenshire, Angus and Ayrshire. These are the regions where most Scots speakers are. So if
That's actually really cool. So it's literally like a split down the...
you remember Scots...
a split down the middle for the country. On the west coast, they speak Gaelic, and on the east coast, they speak Scots. Why is that?
Scottish Gaelic was very much, or Gaelic rather, was very much spoken in the west, on the Highlands, in the islands. Scots is the other side. Scots is mostly spoken in the east, again clustering around these regions of Shetland and Orkney, Aberdeenshire, Angus and Ayrshire.
Aberdeenshire.
Now, again, to look at the language tree, Scots is a Germanic language. Now, I sort of hinted at this earlier. Scots comes in from Old English. Now, I'll have a quick look into this in just a minute.
That is still so, like, just interesting. So the Germans not only created English, which is a country spoken around the world, different forms of it, but they also created Gaelic. Like, whoa. The Germans back in the day, and I'm not talking about World War II time, I'm talking about, like, pre, like, history. They were just doing everything.
And its closest relations are then languages such as, obviously, English is a close relation. Then you've also got a very close relation, as I said, to Dutch. You can recognise words, Frisian as well.
I'm looking at all the language that the Germans created. They have the German language, they have credits for the English language, they have credits for Scots and Gaelic, and now they have credits for Afrikaans, which I believe is the language they speak. No. They have credits for Dutch, which then has credit for Afrikaans, which is the language they speak in South Africa. So in total, they've really been credited for 5 different languages. Or influenced 5 different languages. That's crazy.
And to a lesser extent, the other Germanic languages there. The reason that the Scots
Northumbria,
language actually exists
Wessex.
is because of the Kingdom of Northumbria. Now, Northumbria, unlike the modern-day county of Northumberland, was a lot larger, and actually Northumbria stretched right the way from north of the Humber and sometimes even south of the Humber when it occupied the Kingdom of Lindsey around modern-day Lincolnshire. It also went right the way up thanks to King Oswald's conquest, or it was probably Oswy actually, who conquered parts of southern Scotland.
Gosh, dang it. It is what it is. We can't change it. Y'all know how I feel, though, about monarchies and conquering and all this crap.
Right the way up to, I think, Abercorn was the northern border of Northumbria. Now, the Northumbrians spoke Old English because they were Anglo-Saxons.
Old English.
And they brought the Old English language into Scotland as well. Now, when Old English was changed and altered because of the Normans and because of French, it evolved into Middle English. Yet,
when you say Normans, that means like the Nordic people, right? I love the history of that region, of just Europe. You know, American history is interesting, but it was really just like slavery and fighting for freedom and shit. But, you know, the actual, like, European history, it's like, okay, this chunk of people is ruled by this stupid king, and we want these people, but this people have, like, all these other things and tools, and they are strong, too. So it's just, like, battle after battle for who's the strongest. And I'm gonna be king for 10 decades, I'm gonna be king for a year, then get assassinated. But wait, the French now are coming to travel and trade goods with us. But wait, we say that the French have great things, so now we're gonna try to conquer them. So let's go over to France. It's just, like, everywhere's moving around, and it's just interesting. And again, the languages, the culture, the history, the agriculture. Y'all created the potato over in Ireland. It's interesting.
Yet in Scotland, where this was much less, the language remained much truer to its original Old English roots, and the Scots language was born. I'm now going to play the Scots audiobook version of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter called...
But hold on, if that's the Highlands, Jesus, what a view. Wow, look at the sky, the clouds literally touching the mountains. You got a big old lake or a valley in the middle of everything. And it looks like there's a city right on the edge. And I know y'all don't get hurricanes, so that's not something you'd have to worry about. Like, I never want to own a beach house because that's a waste of money. A hurricane, boom, I just lost a $100,000 investment. But, like, that's not something these people got to worry about. Just get a trailer, plop it right there on the edge. You can have fish and chips every day. You can even sell the fish you catch. Wow. How much is a plot of land in the UK?
Called Peter Kinnan in Scots.
But roon the end o' a cucumber frame, wha did he no meet wi' but Meester McGregor? Meester McGregor was doon in his hunker setting off small kale.
Okay, so she's speaking English. It's just like a very thick Scottish accent with it.
But he looked up and ran after Peter, wagging a scartle and roaring out, "Stop, Briggener!"
The Scottish and Irish accents are very similar. Though, yeah.
Peter was gey sair frechted. He stood all over the garden.
Garden.
Couldna mind the way back to the yett.
Couldna?
He tint ane o' his shin among the kale, and the other she among the tatties. After losing them, he rinnin off hours and get fester, say that I'd you lose.
The way she just said fours, the OU she said, I don't even know, fours. She enunciated every letter.
He might have won a war altogether, gin he hadna misfortunately run into a grosset poke, and
Grosset poke.
clocht with the large buttons on his jacket.
Ireland! Woo! The potatoes! So both Scotland and Ireland use the bagpipes, and we're gonna get an Irish version of Gaelic. Let's do it.
Hello to our
Gaelic. So it was like a G-A with an apostrophe, the way that the other Scottish Gaelic was spelled, but this one is Gaelic. Shearer.
Next language I'm going to cover is sometimes called Gaelic, but this can be quite confusing as it gets confused with Scottish Gaelic, and Irish people actually prefer when the language is called Irish. Now, a few health.
So like the Scots call their Gaelic Scots, the Irish call their Gaelic Irish. So it's a double. It's a double-purposed word. It does mean their race, but it also means their language. Cool. Like, I'm black, but I'm not gonna say I speak black. That's racist.
Full words and phrases in Irish are fáilte, which means welcome.
Fáilte.
Uiscebach, which is the Irish word for whiskey. And
see, if I saw this, I would say uske biatha, but they say ushkeba. So again, the th is silent, I guess.
is actually where whiskey comes from uiscebach to whiskey. It's a bit of a long one, but that's where it comes from.
Whiskey.
Poke Mahone, which is a rather less polite one. You'll have to look that one up yourself.
Poke
But
Mahone?
the Irish are quite proud of it. Now, the main
What's it
way
mean?
that most people come into contact outside of Ireland with the Irish language is through their names, and I'm going to show you now how to pronounce them. So this one is Niamhe.
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 Okay.
Niamhe. Siop.
Sioban.
Pom.
Bon.
Siophan.
Han. Siobhan.
Naumhe. Naumhe.
Niamhe. So the H by itself, you do have to especially enunciate Niamhe. Why not just Niam and the H silent? Niamhe.
Awif.
Awif.
Aoifi.
Iowifi.
Aoif. Aoifi. Fi oi. Oi. Aoif.
I don't know what he's doing. Awifi. But then you start saying awif. Awifi. Or it's just awif.
Okay, so this is how you actually pronounce them. Neve. Siobhan. Naomi.
Oh! Y'all created the Naomi name? What? Bill E. I don't really know what he's doing with the brackets and stuff. But Naomi. And if that's the way you spell it, but over here we spell it Niaomi. But y'all do it like long. Interesting.
And
Wi-Fi.
Ether, this one, Ether. Now, where do they speak Irish in Ireland? Now, as you can see, there are regions all throughout the Republic of Ireland where Irish is well spoken.
It will be interesting to see if it's broken up the same way the Scottish people did, where it's literally just down the middle of the country with east versus west or whatever. So let's see.
Much less so in Northern Ireland, where there is another majority and a different language, which I'll get into in a minute. But there are some regions which you can see are probably just under 70% Irish speakers, and these regions are called Gaeltachts, and there are several. There's some in Donegal, County Mayo, Connemara, Dingle, and West Muskerry are some of the largest ones.
So,
and Gaeltacht means Gaelic or Irish-speaking region. Now, Irish is doing very well as a language, and it's one of the official languages of the Republic of Ireland.
Okay, so I like that though. How the Republic of Ireland, I guess not Northern Ireland though, does represent the Irish language as its own prominent thingy. But why don't the Scottish people do? If you're from Scotland, let me know. Why don't y'all consider Scots one of your official languages?
Alongside English. Now, to look at the Celtic language tree again, obviously Irish comes from Old Irish and before that Primitive Irish. Now, how did Irish come to Ireland? Well, a long time ago, some fancy European farmers brought new bling with them, and while they were bringing that with them, they also brought a new language with them, a very old type of Irish, which we now call Gaelic.
So, I've been thinking about this with like the settlers, or I shouldn't call them settlers, the colonizers who came to America and interacted with the Native Americans, you know, the people who were here first. How were they able to like communicate with each other? Obviously, I do know the history, and it was just like, it wasn't about assimilation, it was more about just change. So the natives were, or the colonizers tried to take away the native language and have them speak English. So I understand that relationship, but why couldn't the settlers try to learn Native American language? And also, how did it work here? Like, they came to trade. How do you even communicate if you don't speak the same language?
And all the languages like Irish and Gaelic and a few of the other ones I'm going to cover are part of the Gaelic family of Celtic languages. Now, a lot more happened in the meantime. So, for example, you get the Norsemen coming over and bringing Old Norse. Then you also get the English coming over and they conquer an area around Dublin, and this area keeps expanding.
We're not going to talk about it, but I don't like it. Stay in your own borders.
And you also get the Scots coming and moving into the north.
Jesus! Everybody just taking over Ireland. Mind your business. Leave them alone.
Which is where So now I'm going to play some of the news from Ireland, which is completely in the Irish language.
And I assume that y'all have a big respect for your nature, because again, you just have miles of mountains and stuff like this. That's gorgeous. Huh. I feel like we do have stuff like this, but it would probably be turned into a city on one of the hills, you know?
Deborah Mahasa Tronhola. Date on Tana Aragadish, Michael Noonan, nach Féidir leis, Éan Liadú, a Yeddaver Húras Philemon Katie Oud, Tugoch Connorhí Dóibh Saradonig and Rialtas a Gocht. Tur is Skeeter go Gudach Aragado Kista Tar Hall on the Mount, Kistacha Gista Pinchen, Bon Katie, Shinchracha, Lar on Tana Noonan, Lenar Durish Gorge, Starach.
Okay, no disrespect, but I don't really like how it sounds. It's just very harsh. I respect the language because, again, it's just the Irish language, but, man, very harsh. Like, the Scottish Gaelic was very, like, slurred and, you know, in a way bouncy, but this one's just going at ya. Ulster Scots. Yeah. A fiddle? Is this a fiddle?
Hold on a minute. Who's this dashing young fellow on the horse? It isn't William of Orange, King of Great Britain, Ireland, Scotland, England.
For a second I thought he had a peg leg, but it looks like just like a whiskey bottle or something.
And also that other place, the Netherlands.
The Netherlands! I've been to the Netherlands. I spent time in Amsterdam and Utrecht. I was in both those places whenever I came to Europe, and they were both beautiful. I did a lot of walking around, so I got to experience it all. And yeah, I don't remember... not many people I ran into were actually speaking, at least in Utrecht, they weren't speaking a lot of English. But when I got to Amsterdam, it was just beautiful. Everything was very colorful and vibrant. A lot of just like waterways, people riding bikes. It just felt very fresh. I miss it. I want to come back. But I also have an inner conflict of why visit the same place you've already been twice, you know? There's so many other places in the world you haven't been to yet. But I really did enjoy my trip in Europe. Utrecht!
Ulster Scots is then mostly considered to be a dialect of the Scots language, which I covered before.
Okay, I think I understand that a little better. When you say dialect, like a dialect of English would be, for example, a New Yorker's form of English versus a Texan's, my form of English. We both speak English, but they're very different. Yeah, so Ulster Scots is basically just the Scottish language, just someone from Ulster's way of speaking it.
Having come in from Scotland. Now then it also makes sense that the highest percentage of speakers of Ulster Scots in Northern Ireland are those in the north, who are then closest geographically to Scotland, where they came from. Now what's the history behind this? Why are there Scots speakers in Northern Ireland, traditionally Gaelic or Gaelic speaking area?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, when times were simple, English speakers lived in England and Irish speakers lived in Ireland.
When times were simple, I think, I'm not going to tell you what I think because I don't want to get cancelled, but I respect this idea.
Now, as we already covered in the early Middle Ages, Scots began to develop differently from English. Now, the English in, I think, the 12th century invaded parts of Ireland around Dublin, and over the next few hundred years they kept expanding and fighting against the Irish. Now, the Irish had one strong...
You have your own freaking island. Go back to it. Just like America. You know, I hate the history of how America was founded because it's literally just off of bloodshed and stealing. Same, I guess, with the English here and other countries. You know, I love England, but Jesus, the freaking history when it comes to colonization, imperialization, India, spices, all that shit. It's horrible.
Base from which they resisted the English, and this was in Ulster. Now, there were Irish Gaelic warlords there who fought constantly against the new invaders, and also the language was a large part of this. The people there were very much still Gaelic speakers and had Gaelic customs and held out against the English, who at this time were also Protestants. So what the English did, who were at this time also unified with the Scottish after James I, was they sent many Englishmen and Scotsmen over to Ulster, to this very Gaelic region, to essentially replace the Irish population.
Now, do y'all see why I don't like monarchies or believe in them? Or the idea that just because blood runs in my veins, I'm better than you? Bitch, we're both be positive. What makes your blood any better than mine? Just because you're royal. Who says who? Ugh, God. I don't want to get into it, though, because I know there are a lot of people who do still like the monarchies and respect them. And I'm not saying disrespect the monarchies, but in this day and age, we don't need monarchies. And this is a perfect example of why. Like, they didn't do good things.
And then you get many people from Scotland who spoke Scots coming into Northern Ireland in an attempt to replace these Gaelic people to assert control over the region. And that's why Scots came into Northern Ireland.
So the reason that people in Northern Ireland don't just speak Gaelic but also Scottish is because the Scottish people invaded Northern Ireland along with the English. So it's not like a beautiful thing of sharing, you know, cultures, cross cultures on the border. It's because they were freaking invaded. The poor Irish people, they've been through a lot. Again, we reacted to the Troubles, the potato famine, the freaking bombings, the children that were probably scared in the streets. All for what? Because they wanted their land? My heart goes out to the Irish people. Y'all haven't had it easy. Oh, okay. Next up, we got Wales. This video is almost 30 minutes long, so I'm going to end it here. And if you guys want, we can do a part 2 where we'll check out Wales and Britain. And let's get 700 likes in this video, and we'll do a part 2. Like the video, subscribe, bye.